my wonderful people. This is Nick Paris, and I'm gonna show y'all how to plant, germinate, and start your own pepper plant. Come on with me. So of course the first thing you do, get you some nice soil. I use a brand called Pro Mix HP. It comes with beneficial bacteria called mycorrhizae that is activated once watered. It's bacteria that will break down all of the nutrients and such inside the soil, and it'll break it down into plant form, into a form to where the plant's roots can take it up, use it as food. Most plant food, especially dry amendments, when you apply it to the soil, it's unavailable to the roots to take up. And that's where the beneficial bacteria comes into play. It'll activate, and it will munch away at all the dry amendments, and in about a month or so it'll it'll break it down into a form where the plant can eat. So let's go ahead and water this. All right, lovely people, I'm back. All right, so as you see, I got my 5-gallon little bucket right here, full of nutrients. It's dechlorinated water, tap water straight out of the tap, usually it's not good. It's full of chlorine. And plants don't like too much chlorine. They don't like it at all, okay? So, excuse me. Best thing to do is to let it sit overnight, uncovered, maybe about 24 hours, 48 hours, and the chlorine will evaporate out of the water, leaving you with better water. To speed up the process, I have my little bubbling system right here, 1 second. So yeah, as you can see, I done turned on my bubbling system. Hoses connected to this little contraption that controls the flow of air. So I go ahead and I place this up in here, and we get bubbles. All right, I make compost teas and all that. This is how you mix up all the good stuff for your plants, making it plant available, making it root available, making the food more available to the roots, and to the plant itself. But yeah, I invested in me one of these little bubblers, adding oxygen to the water, which will speed up the process of dechlorinating the water. But since I've already done that, I go ahead and turn those off. These is air stones. They put air in, they do something to where you put it in the water and, and it makes it bubble a little better. The air stones, got the whole little setup. So yeah, now it's time to pH my water. Got my little trusty, 1 second. Got my little trusty pH pen. This tests the pH of your water. Now I like to have it a little low at around like 6, 6 pH, somewhere around there, maybe even 5, because I'm using soil, which will, once I put lower pH water in the soil, it'll make the soil's pH lower. Soil pH usually be at a 7. I want it to get down to about 6.5, hopefully. So I use my pH pen, you know what I'm saying? and I dip it in here. And as you can see, pH is at about like 6.5. 6.5. Let me stir it around. You know, that's a good rule of thumb to get a good reading. 6.5, yeah, just about. All right, it's good enough for me. I already pre-mixed some nutrients up in here for it. Some nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, just for a quick little, a little boost. You really don't have to feed the plant too much once it first gets started. But if you want to amend your soil, it's a good way to put the good stuff in your soil, prior to sowing the seed. So, got my little trusty little water, with my face on it. So let me go ahead and get me some. And from here, people, let's go plant the seed. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is add some wiggle worm soil builder, which is just pure worm castings, worm poop. It's poop from worms. OMRI listed, which means it's pure organic, which I prefer to grow pure organic. I'm gonna go ahead and mix that to the soil. That'll give it nitrogen. Plants need the main three elements that plants need are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This will give it a good source of nitrogen, and it also comes with its own microbiology and its own beneficial bacteria, and it will add to the beneficial bacteria that I'm already going to add. So yeah, let me just go ahead and get me a scoop of this, and we'll see what that do. All right, lovely people. So I'm doing this one-handed, so you gotta excuse me. I got me a scoop of the good old organic worm poop, worm castings, as they like to say. I added a little bit into the soil already, so let me go ahead add a little more. And this is just a small pot because I like to start off small. Once the root structure has gotten good enough, strong enough, once I start seeing roots poking out the bottom, then I pot it up to a bigger pot, and then repeat the process. All right, y'all. So let's fast forward in time a little bit and see what happens once you plant the seed and let it germinate. All right, people. I got my seeds, I'm going to plant 2 to a pot. This is what pepper seeds look like, man. I'm trying to zoom in as much as I can. Yeah, they're very small, man. Very small, very small. So you do got to be careful with them. So what I'm going to do is, got my little pot right here. Small little pot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just dump them right there in the middle, something like that. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press them in. Ever so lightly. About 1/4 inch, but me, I just do a fingernail's length, about like that. Boom. That's a hole. All right, as you can see, ever so lightly. I pat the soil down, pat all the air pockets out. It's very important. You don't want air pockets in your soil. Now, I haven't watered this soil yet, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, here we go. All right, so in the beginning, you don't really want to saturate all the soil. You don't want it too damp. You just want to saturate the spot where the seeds are. You don't want it to be too saturated. It's gonna take about a good 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, I've had some that pop up within 7 days, but pepper seeds usually take from 2 to 6 weeks to germinate. I've only had one that took about 31 days, to germinate. But most of the time I get lucky and it be within 7 to 10 days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to water with my pH 6.5, and I'm going to just saturate the area. So when the seed does pop out, it'll have enough water, to do its thing. Now, I'm not going to water all of the soil, just in the area. And voila. Pepper seeds don't need light to germinate, but me, I like to go ahead and put it up here anyway, put it in a nice little window sill. Let me go ahead and put it like right there. Boom. Now 1 second, y'all. Voila. Then I mark it. It's the dream catcher. This the dream catcher seed. But we're gonna go back in time, we're gonna fast forward in time. We're gonna go back to the future. And I'm gonna show you what happens after about 2 weeks, of letting it sit there, and things of that nature. So we'll be right back.
3 hours later.
Voila, people. Here we go. And this is what happens after about, in my experience, about 7 to 10 days. You get you a little sprout. Around that time, that's when I kind of saturate the whole pot, so the roots can stretch out. Now, let me tell you something. Rule of thumb. Don't overwater, because your roots, they're gonna be like spoiled kids. They're used to getting water, so why stretch? Why stretch for and search for the water? The root system will be very weak. You won't even grow big roots. They will grow straight down. It's not what you want. You don't want to spoil your kids. You want them to know the value of $1, so to speak. So what you do is you water, then you let the soil dry out, completely out. Ooh, sorry, y'all. Okay, I'm back. I had technical difficulties. All right, so like I was saying, you let the soil dry all the way out. And a good rule of thumb is to like pick up the pot. If it's still heavy, it still has water in it. If it's light to the touch when you're picking it up, more than likely it needs to be watered. And don't let the top soil fool you, because the top soil dries out the quickest. But if you dig a little deeper, you will see there's still moisture. So a good rule of thumb is to take notes, first of all. Second of all, if you're not taking notes, just pick up the pot. If it's light, feel like nothing's in it, it's time to water. When you do that, you force the roots to search for water, all right? And in the process of them searching for water, they're growing, all right? You repeat this process, and you will have a strong root system, all right? Now, this is a seedling, It starts off with the 2 leaves right here. When it pops out the ground, it starts out with these 2 leaves, which are called Cotyledon leaves. All right. They're the untrue leaves. These are the leaves that just supply the seedling with food and to start photosynthesis, start the photosynthesis process. All right. Now you see that little green little thing right there in the middle? Those are going to be the first true leaves. These are the false leaves, which we call the cotyledons. That right there in the middle is going to grow out to be true leaves. Then the cotyledons are going to die back. All right? And then your plant will start. Now I have a time machine. We about to hop into the time machine, and I'm gonna show you what happens, you know, about a month or two down the line. All right?
3 hours later.
Yes. About 30 days in, 30 to 45 days in, this is what you can have, all right? See, I got my little pepper protectors down here, making sure no bugs or anything get to my pepper plant. They protecting. All right. So this soil, it's kind of light to the touch, you know what I'm saying? But this is what you'll get. This is what you get within maybe like a month's time, even less time if it's loving the environment. All right. Very nice. Foliage looking nice. That's how you know it's feeding off the nitrogen. Seedlings love nitrogen. And when it's in its early stage, it loves nitrogen and less of phosphorus and potassium. Still needs some of that, but less of it in the early stages, all right? And as you can see, boom, boom, it's growing. Everything looking pretty good right now. All right? So you just, supply it with light. All pepper plants need is about six hours of direct sunlight a day, and it's going to thrive. They're not photosensitive, which means that no matter what the light cycle is, they will still bear fruit and they will still do their thing. There's other plants out there that are photosensitive, and if you change the light cycle, you will mess the plant up. This is not one of them. All right. So let's fast forward, y'all. We're going to go into the time machine. And we're going to see what it looks like as it develops, as it gets bigger. You still keep up with your regimen, You feed it. I only feed it, when the pot, I only water it when the pot is getting light, light to the touch. Now feeding the nutrients to it, I do every other watering. So I let it dry up, plain water, pH at about 6.5. All right. And if you don't have a pH stick, get one. But you can use like lemon juice, pure lemon juice, a couple of drops in the water that will lower the pH. All right. And lime, like actual lime, like Dolomite lime, that'll higher the pH, But yeah, so this is what it's looking like so far, nice little growth, nice growth going on. Got purple stems, It's looking pretty good. So let's go into the time machine, y'all. And I will show y'all what happens if you keep this up. Wow. Fast forward to about 2 to 3 months. And this is what you'll get. And if you've noticed, it has dark foliage. Look at this, y'all. This is beautiful, man. Beautiful plant. Once you see the roots sticking out the bottom of the small pot, that's when it's time to up pot it, as I've done with this plant. Up potted it to a 3-gallon fabric pot. So it can, thrive. But as you can see, everything's looking A-okay. Around this time, you will see, you will see small little bud things. What are those? Oh, those are flowers. Those are flowers forming. Pepper plants like to Y off, as you can see right here. You got two sets of, let me see if I can focus. But you got two sets of leaves with the little balls inside of them. All right. Soon, those two right there will Y off. Once it Ys off, that's when it usually begins to start flowering. But you see the plant got dark. That's that's when it's in direct sun. Most varieties of peppers, when they're in direct sunlight, they change their pigment into dark. It's a defense mechanism, but it's genetics as well. Those are my favorite types of peppers that have dark foliage. Some people grow the ornamentals, kind of like this one, you know, which also has dark foliage, but it has variegated leaves as well, which means two different colors on one leaf, you know. Those aren't like nutrient speckles or anything. That's just the natural color of the leaf. And as you can see, that's what happens. You know, the flower pollinates itself, turns into that little bud. You know, the petals fall off, and then boom, you get you a pepper. That's what grows out of it. These are my favorite type of plants, though. You know, pepper plants, of course. But yes, we have all different kinds. You know. As you can see, boom, the petals fell off of that. Now that's about to grow into a nice pepper for me. But yeah, people, that's what happens. And once it gets to this stage, once you see the buds and stuff, now you cut back a little. You cut back on the nitrogen, not fully, but just cut back on the nitrogen, and then this is when you add phosphorus and potassium. Phosphorus and potassium, they keep the flowers from falling off. You know, they help flower set. That's what we call it. You know, sometimes excessive heat will have these flowers falling off, or when it's not ready, the flowers they will form and then fall off. They'll fall off the plant. You know, but after a while, it's like the plant knows better than the human. After a while, it'll start setting, and to encourage that, you use phosphorus and potassium, you know, and less nitrogen. You know, this will help your plants grow and flourish, and before you know it, you will have hella peppers and hella seeds like me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. This is Nick Parrish signing off, man. All right, y'all.